Mariah Carey, a singing career that rocketed her name to the top of the charts.
And the Grammy goes to Mariah Carey!
A marriage to Tommy Mottola, the powerful head of Sony Music. But there was trouble in paradise.
And Mariah states in the doc that she felt like a prisoner while on the estate.
Mariah, do you know that it has been written that you were a virtual hostage in that house? All right. Were you?
What is your relationship with Mariah Carey? I always have heard that there's a feud there.
Yes. I didn't see Mariah because at the time she wasn't playing. She hadn't started yet.
Who?
But I saw Britney, I saw Shania.
No, I'm playing because that's what Mariah said about Jennifer one time. I'm not trying to start anything.
Does all the attention Jennifer Lopez gets,
I don't think she has anything to do with me. I mean, my whole thing is singing, writing songs. I've been doing this my whole life. Singing is first and foremost. It's a God-given talent that I'm grateful for. Her thing is something different.
I don't know the woman. You know, there were things in the past courtesy of a record company issue.
The singer is separating from her husband, Sony Music President Tommy Mottola.
He's telling her make a duet with Ja and J-Lo. He's just trying to over his ex-wife Mariah and beat it to the punch.
Does she seem cool?
I don't know her.
Hi, I'm Jake.
And I'm Shelby.
And welcome to Deep Dive. Mariah Carey dominated the R&B pop genre with some of the biggest hits of all time.
But unfortunately, the Queen of Christmas would experience an avalanche early on in her career.
When the head of Sony Music would wed her and lock her in a mansion that she couldn't leave.
This would trap Mariah under the control of Tommy Mottola for years.
Until she was finally able to escape her multi-million-dollar mansion. But how did Tommy and Sony punish Mariah for her timely escape?
By creating a new R&B pop star from the ground up.
The 90s legend and world-renowned superstar Jennifer Lopez. See, Jenny was new to the block.
And Tommy would ensure that Mariah and Jennifer would continuously battle for years to come.
Taking songs and opportunities from his ex-wife Mariah and funneling them to dance pop sensation Jennifer Lopez.
So join me and Jake as we take the shadiest look down memory lane
and explore just how Mariah Carey was held hostage in a multi-million-dollar mansion.
Every interview, fight, and shady TV moment between Mariah Carey, Tommy Mottola, and Jennifer Lopez. And just how the two R&B pop legends became mortal enemies in the Wild West that is Hollywood. Before we dive into the video, we want to take a moment to thank Aura for sponsoring this episode of Deep Dive. Now, I don't know about y'all, but recently my days have been getting interrupted by a ton of scammy text messages, offering me fake jobs and trying to get me to click on links that do who knows what. It's actually pretty scary because they know some of my personal information to make it appear legit. I know one of the reasons I get so many spam texts and calls is because big companies can't keep our data safe. Recently, AT&T revealed that nearly all of their customers' calls and text records had been exposed in a massive data breach. The stolen logs also contain a record of every number AT&T customers called or texted, so even if you don't use AT&T, if someone who texted you did, then your number has been exposed. So what can you do to protect yourself? I personally use Aura. Aura will alert me if they find my phone number or any other sensitive information that has been compromised. Plus, they give me fast fraud alerts if anyone tries to use that data to access my credit or bank accounts. But Aura does so much more to keep me safe. I also get things like transaction monitoring, a VPN, antivirus, a password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance. I get this all in one app at one affordable price. I can also get their AI-powered call assistant that will pick up unknown calls on my behalf to screen them for spam or scams. And it protects me from harmful text messages by scanning links in the messages for phishing threats. I'm not leaving myself or my family vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/deep dive or click the link in the description box to try your first 2 weeks for free. Now let's take it back to the 80s to see what exactly sparked the feud between Mariah and J-Lo. Before we can even get into the decades-long feud between Mariah Carey and Jennifer Lopez, we first have to dive into the horrific marriage and divorce that led to the two stars being pitted against one another. The year was 1987. A then 18-year-old Mariah Carey had just graduated high school when she decided to move to New York City in pursuit of her dreams of becoming a singer. Mariah was truly a starving artist. She would sleep on a mattress on the floor of a friend's apartment while working multiple jobs as a waitress and a coat check girl just to make ends meet. However, it wouldn't take long for Mariah to break into the singing world. She would end up being hired as a backup singer for Brenda K. Starr, who was at the time charting on the billboards for her song I Still Believe. Now, Brenda definitely believed in her new bestie Mariah, and would even help Mariah get her demo tape into the hands of a major record executive.
I was a backup singer for Brenda K. Starr, and she became like my best friend, and everybody who met me, she would say, oh, you gotta hear my friend Mariah, you know, she's 18 years old, she writes her own songs. So she brought me to this party, and she introduced me to Tommy Mottola, who's the president of CBS Records, and handed him my tape. And I never expected him to listen to it, or I just expected him to like throw it aside, but he went out to the limo and he put it on his way home from the party, and he turned around and came back to find me because there was no phone number on the tape or nothing. So he just, he found me that Monday through her managers, and I had my deal.
Tommy Mottola had never been in the presence of someone who could sing like Mariah. She could effortlessly hit notes in the 7th octave vocal range and come right back down seamlessly. He knew he had a massive star in the making and was prepared to spend millions to ensure that her debut album would be perfect. Mariah actually spent the first several months recording her album late at night in the back of a wood shop turned music studio. Tommy would stop by regularly to monitor the development of the project, and on one of those occasions, Mariah told him, quote, "You look great." All it took was this one compliment for Tommy to become obsessed with Mariah. There was a whopping 21-year age difference between the two. Mariah was now freshly 19 years old, and Tommy was 40. But the age gap wasn't the only problem here. He was an executive, her boss, who could make or break her career. So the power dynamic was even more unbalanced. And to top it all off, Tommy was married to Lisa Clark, the daughter of the man who ran ABC Records. He knew pursuing Mariah was wrong, so he took his conundrum to his therapist, who warned him, stating that it would never work and to just focus on developing her as an artist.
Now, you know, that's the cardinal sin in the business is you can't sleep with the artist if you're the executive.
There you go.
And I know you went to see a therapist when you first
the only problem is I didn't listen to the therapist.
You didn't listen to the therapist. Tommy, you didn't listen to the therapist.
The hell good was a therapist?
Over the course of the next 1.5 years, Tommy and Mariah would work very closely together, having to completely scrap and rework the album to make it absolutely perfect. And it was during this time that they would fall in love. However, their relationship had to remain a secret, as Tommy was now divorcing his wife of 19 years. Plus, their controversial relationship could harm Mariah's debut. They couldn't have her becoming tabloid fodder when it was rumored that her marketing campaign was the most expensive for a new artist. Tommy was also now the chairman of Sony, formerly CBS Records, and he had put the company's full production and promotion weight behind Mariah.
Mottola spent money. A reported $800,000 on the album, $500,000 on the first video, and $1 million more to market both. The feeling is that he made you, his guidance, his helping you choose the songs, his publicity machine, his this, his that it wouldn't have happened without him.
Well, I don't believe that, because I know that I wouldn't have given up, and I do know that I was very close to having a deal prior to meeting him. But I do believe that he was very instrumental because he did see the potential.
Mariah Carey, the self-titled album, released on June 12th, 1990, and would eventually top the charts, becoming the best-selling album of 1991. Mariah would go on to snag 2 Grammys in 1991 for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance and Best Artist, cementing her debut as one of the most successful in pop music history. Now, this album will always be a pop and R&B classic, with a legacy that has inspired other major artists like Beyonce, Christina Aguilera, and Ariana Grande.
Vision of Love was one of the first songs I heard when I was a kid, where I heard all of these riffs, and I was like, how does she do that? And it's something that I love to do in my music, but she completely inspired me.
That sounds like Mariah Carey singing the song.
Thanks. No, I wouldn't be mad at all. She's the greatest vocalist, and that's a huge compliment to be compared to her. What's wrong with being compared to the greatest singer in the world?
Mariah had been catapulted into stardom, which meant her life was hitting the front page of gossip magazines. The media started to take notice that Tommy Mottola, Sony's top executive, took an unusually active role in the album's development. Reports started coming out linking the two romantically. However, Tommy would continue to deny it. Wanting to capitalize on the success of the first album, Mariah was sent right back to the recording studio to get a second album out as quick as possible. Emotions, Mariah's second studio album, was released in September of 1991. And yet again, she made history. The lead single, the same name, was her 5th consecutive single to top the charts, making her the first artist ever to have 5 chart toppers in a row. In 1992, after the second album released, Mariah and Tommy felt more comfortable with the world knowing about their now 4-year-long relationship. Fast forward to April 16th of 1993, they would announce their engagement with a fairy tale wedding set for June 5th.
In 1993, 5 years and 3 albums after they met, Mariah and Tommy got married in a lavish, celebrity-studded ceremony reminiscent of the royal wedding of Diana and Prince Charles.
Tommy gave the wedding.
In what way?
Tommy paid for the wedding.
And just
Tommy directed it. Tommy designed it. Yes, it was a Tommy production. And it was wonderful. We had a marvelous time, and she looked beautiful and he looked handsome, and it was a fairy tale.
To the outside world, it would appear Mariah Carey's life was a dream come true. She had the fairy tale wedding fit for a princess, her most successful album Music Box was released to much fanfare, and her voice was reportedly worth $300 million. No one would have guessed at the time, but behind closed doors, Mariah was trapped in an unbelievable nightmare. In the very few interviews she was allowed to do, reporters noticed how isolated Mariah seemed to be. She would often struggle with simple questions like, what do you do for fun? At the time, reporters and the general public alike just thought she never left the house because she was just too famous. But the real reason was much more sinister than that. See, Tommy Mottola was controlling Mariah Carey's every move. Literally, her every move. In Mariah's memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, she wrote that everywhere she went, Tommy Mottola followed. She was monitored minute by minute, day after day, year by year. Their $32 million mansion, nicknamed Sing Sing, was staffed with armed guards, who Mariah says were hired by Tommy to spy on her. There were motion cameras and hidden microphones all over the mansion, so Tommy could know exactly what room she was in at all times. Mariah described how she would try to sneak downstairs for a snack or to simply sit alone in the dark. But when she would finally catch her breath and relax, she would hear beep beep, followed by Tommy's voice coming through the intercom asking, "What are you doing?" She had absolutely no privacy or autonomy. If Mariah wanted to have a phone conversation, she would have to sneak away and hide in her shoe closet. Over time, Mariah would become even more isolated from the little family and friends that she had. She wasn't allowed to talk to anyone unless they were Tommy approved, aka under his control.
The 5-time Grammy winner calls her mansion with her first husband, Tommy Mottola, Sing Sing, after the infamous prison.
I did feel like I was held captive in that relationship. Talking to other people wasn't allowed.
I was so kind of sequestered, away from the world. Management, lawyers, all those people who all were kind of like one unit. They were all together, kind of in control of me.
It's ironic, my voice was being heard by millions of people, on a label that he controlled, but my actual voice as a woman, as a human being, was really kind of shushed.
Mariah had finally achieved her dreams of becoming a world-renowned musician, married to the head of the biggest name in music, but she was trapped in a golden prison that she truly couldn't leave. There was one time in 1996 when Mariah actually managed to leave her mansion without permission for only a few minutes. See, she had been working on a song with Jermaine Dupri and her new friend, Debrat. In an interview, Debrat said that they had to whisper when talking to one another because there were actual microphones in the walls. While Jermaine was laying down the beat for the track, Debrat and Mariah decided to sneak away from the mansion to get some food. Within minutes of leaving, all hell broke loose. Tommy was spamming Mariah's phone with calls. While they were gone, security busted into the recording studio, interrogating Jermaine with their guns drawn, yelling, "Where is she?"
At first, we thought it was funny, and we literally were going to go for 5 minutes, which was a huge deal. For me to just go off the property without security, it just became a huge, huge thing. And she was in shock, and she did say, "This is not okay. You're Mariah Carey. I thought you could do whatever you want. Like, you can't be in this relationship."
This was the extent that Mariah was monitored every single day for years. She was essentially being held captive by the king of the music industry, and he had his goons burst through the studio to retrieve what Tommy believed to be his property. Now, Debrat's words were life-changing for Mariah. Her eyes were now fully open to the fact that she was essentially a prisoner in her own mansion. She may have had it all: the biggest mansion, the most cutting-edge albums, and the voice of an angelic canary. But she was essentially a perfectly beautiful and talented songbird locked in a cage by the head of Sony Music. And rumors of Tommy's abusive ways began to flood the Hollywood scene. Not only was Tommy beginning to lose control over Mariah, but he could now no longer control the narrative. The truth was out. In December of 1996, Vanity Fair published an entire feature on Tommy Mottola, detailing just a fraction of his abuse toward Mariah and calling his marriage to her Svengali-esque. A source said that Mariah was told, quote, "If you leave, make sure you find someone as rich and powerful. Otherwise, Tommy is going to destroy you." Mariah responded with, quote, "Don't you think I know that?" Mariah was terrified to end her marriage. By this point, she had released 5 albums, including her iconic Christmas album. However, she was still contractually obligated to complete 2 more albums under the label her husband ran. He had total power to destroy her career, but everything would soon change. Tommy, who seemingly wanted to dispel the rumors that Mariah was held hostage in their mansion, let her go to a party at P. Diddy's house. There, she would lock eyes with Derek Jeter. See, Derek was a huge fan of Mariah and went to that party specifically to meet her. The two would actually kiss that night, sparking the start of their secret love affair. Derek showed Mariah that there was someone out there for her and that she was deserving of real love. The affair would inspire Mariah to leave Tommy Mottola once and for all. Now, in Mariah's book, she details that when Tommy knew the marriage was over, in front of some of his friends, he went on a, quote, awkward little creepy rant, threatening Mariah by holding a butter knife to her face and slowly dragging it down towards her throat. Mariah said his boys watched it happen and didn't say a single word to stop it.
4 years after the storybook wedding, Mariah left Tommy Mottola.
The singer is separating from her husband, Sony Music President Tommy Mottola, on a trial basis. That according to publicists for the pair. They were married in June 1993. Publicists say the couple remain friends and will continue their business relationship. Carey has recorded most of her biggest hits on the Sony label.
Mariah fired the manager and lawyer who had been hired by Tommy Mottola and has taken charge of her own career.
With her newfound freedom, Mariah started to finally dress the way she wanted to. She would hit the Hollywood nightlife scene and would actually begin work on her album titled Butterfly, which represented her all-new metamorphosis and beginnings. But she wasn't totally free. Mariah was still tied to Sony Columbia Records in one of the most lucrative contracts in the industry. Tommy, as the top exec, could close the tap on the millions of dollars spent to promote and propel Mariah's image. And it was clear, Mariah was scared of retaliation from her ex-husband.
Mariah, you know that it has been written that you were a virtual hostage in that house.
All right.
Is it true that Tommy eavesdropped on you through an intercom system or would redial if you made a phone call, that kind of thing? Did you feel that? True or not, did you feel it? Obviously you did.
I have a record coming out.
A record that will be released by the company Tommy Mottola still heads. Are you afraid? He listens to this interview and he gets mad. And he may not want to put out your next album. I mean, he is in control in that sense of your albums, yes?
He's the head of the company, so he's the one who's calling the shots.
Mariah has once said that Butterfly, her 6th studio album, is her magnum opus, marking a major shift in her life.
I've definitely gone through a lot of personal changes and a lot of professional changes throughout the course of the process of recording this album, much more so than on any other record that I've done. And I don't know, I feel really, really close to this record. It's like I go to sleep with it, I wake up with it, you know. I've gone through so many changes that have gone into the music.
This was also her first album where she successfully took back full control of the creative process, hiring on her own producers. Now, in Mariah's memoir, she has said that Tommy has tried to, quote, strip all of the urban from her. So with this album, she would take her music in the direction she had always wanted to, by pioneering the pop hip-hop collaboration. Mariah would work with major producers and artists such as Q-Tip, Stevie J, Da Brat, Jermaine Dupri, P. Diddy, and Bone Thugs and Harmony, just to name a few.
It's something that you wouldn't even expect, especially the breakdown record with Bone Thugs. You wouldn't even expect that coming from Mariah.
People are finally realizing that hip-hop is not like just a passing trend.
She pays attention to the culture. A lot of people try to say hip-hop is this and hip-hop is that, but like, you know, the biggest pop stars from Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, to Mariah Carey, the biggest, pay attention to hip-hop, and she especially shows us love and respect.
Honey, Butterfly's first single, was accompanied by a music video that really showcased Mariah's metamorphosis. It is very James Bond themed, starting off with Mariah tied to a chair in a mansion being held hostage, to her escaping by diving into a pool while displaying her sexy new image. She hops onto a jet ski while being chased by goons, then eventually makes it to an island where she is finally happy and free. The music video for Honey was genius marketing. See, Sony, aka Tommy, did seem to retaliate against Mariah by not promoting Butterfly as heavily as previous albums. But the parallels between the music video and Mariah's marriage got the whole world talking. And despite the lack of promotion, Butterfly still debuted at #1 on the charts. Tommy Mottola, on the other hand, was on the hunt for a new artist that he could turn into a pop superstar in order to compete with his ex-wife. And that star would be Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer was already a household name. She had started off her career professionally dancing in the early 90s with musical theater, appearing in music videos, and dancing backup from massive artists like Janet Jackson and New Kids on the Block. She was also a fly girl for the TV series In Living Color by day, and by night she would take up acting classes. By 1993, Jennifer Lopez really wanted to switch gears from dancing to acting, and would begin to score various small supporting roles. However, her star would really begin to rise when she would play Mrs. Marquez in the movie Jack alongside Robin Williams. But it would be just 1 year later when she would get the breakthrough role as Selena, making her the first Latin actress to earn over $1 million for a film, which officially cemented her name in Hollywood forever.
This Bronx bombshell is the highest paid Hispanic actress ever in Hollywood. She's also the first Latina woman to sign with L'Oreal.
And I'm worth it. The success of Selena inspired Jennifer to make another huge shift in her career. She said doing Selena brought back how much she loved performing on stage and interacting with fans, something you don't get in movies. So she recorded a demo tape, which started a bidding war between Sony and EMI Latin. However, after a meeting with Tommy Mottola, J-Lo would end up signing on with Sony, and just like with Mariah, Tommy would take her under his wing, becoming very involved in the development of her debut album. That is when rumors started flying that Tommy and J-Lo, both fresh out of a divorce, had started a romantic fling. Tommy couldn't fully sabotage Mariah as she was still on the Sony label, making the company he ran millions upon millions of dollars. But what he could do was pit his new artist against her. For the sound of J-Lo's debut album On the 6, Tommy said that they decided to fuse pop with hip-hop, due to Jennifer's ethnic background. But keep in mind, in all the years Tommy and Mariah were together, he never allowed her to fuse hip-hop into her music. When Mariah had wanted to work with P. Diddy, he would say things like, "That guy will be shining my shoes one day." But now, all of a sudden, he was hiring P. Diddy to be a co-producer on Jennifer Lopez's album. On the Six would go on to be released in June of 1999 with much commercial success. J-Lo's debut single, "If You Had My Love," would be a chart topper, becoming the first song in Billboard history to maintain the #1 spot on the Hot 100 singles sales, and the R&B charts simultaneously.
She's been called sassy, sultry, and sexy. Entire articles have been devoted to her well-rounded bottom. She is a triple threat: dancer, actress, and now singer.
She is burning up the Billboard charts with her new CD, On the Six, and sexy single, If You Had My Love.
We get a call from Tommy Mottola, who's the head of the record company.
We know Tommy.
Yes. Just wanted to make sure everybody else knows. And he, said to my manager, "I want to see you and Jennifer tonight for a meeting." And, we didn't, oh my God, what do we do now? So we go down to meet him, and actually he just took us out to dinner and was like, "So, baby, you got the #1 record in the country."
5 months after On the Six debuted, Mariah's album Rainbow would be released. This was Mariah's final album with Sony, so they really made it as difficult as possible for her. She only had 3 months to finish the entire album, and Sony would block her song Can't Take That Away from being a single. But despite it all, Mariah was finally free from Sony's grip, and Rainbow still debuted at the #2 spot on the charts. The first murmurings of a feud between Mariah Carey and Jennifer Lopez came up during the PR run for Rainbow. Mariah was asked in an interview by Marabella magazine if there was a rivalry there. Mariah responded with, quote, "She's a dancer, isn't she? She lip-synced Selena's vocals. I don't think that as a singer, we are in the same category."
I'm not a singer. I haven't performed as a singer. So I'm a dancer. I'd be singing and the mic be over here. I'd be like, the mic, because it's not really my voice.
This would mark the beginning of one of the largest feuds in pop culture history. And now that Mariah was free from Sony, the attempted sabotage of her career was just beginning.
So now it's the year 2000, and Mariah's working on a film project called All the Glitters, a project she actually started in 1997, but decided to hold off on until she was no longer under Sony's control, or so she thought. See, All the Glitters, rebranded just Glitter, was a romantic musical starring Mariah. It was set to hit the big screen in 2001 alongside a soundtrack which would be Mariah's 8th album. Even though she was now with Virgin Records for the music side of things, Glitter ended up being a Sony Productions film. Tommy Mottola would have access to the filming footage of the movie, which was full of Mariah's new music and concepts. Rightfully paranoid, Mariah would go as far as to not even put her voice on some of the demos to prevent her own music from being stolen by her ex-husband. But Tommy's vengeance knew no bounds. Mariah had been working on her single Loverboy, which sampled an old disco song called Firecracker. But unfortunately, Tommy Mottola got his hands on her new song.
And then there was the sabotage. After hearing my new song, using the same sample I used, Sony rushed to make a single for another female entertainer on their label, whom I don't know. They used the Firecracker sample and released it before Loverboy. Ja Rule and I wrote a song together too, and next thing you know, Tommy was calling up his manager, Irv Gotti, asking him and Ja to collaborate on a duet for the same female entertainer's record, leaving me to scurry and remake the song. This was sabotage, plain and simple.
Forcing Mariah to rework Loverboy wasn't enough for Tommy, so he would take his sabotage to the next level. See, Irv Gotti, the co-founder of Murder Inc. Records, was helping produce Glitter, the album, and Ja Rule, who was signed to Murder Inc., was featured on Mariah's song, If We. Tommy, who is very connected in the music industry, called up Irv Gotti, instructing him to make a record for J-Lo, and that he also wanted a Ja Rule collaboration, just like he had done with Mariah.
So Tommy Mottola came with his beautiful wife, Talia. Me and Rule had did a record with Mariah, and it was a duet. He's telling Irv, make a duet with Ja and J-Lo. He's just trying to over his ex-wife, Mariah, and beat it to the punch so she can't put out the record with Ja. I want you to remix this record, blah, 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 blah. The record was Jennifer's I'm Real. Now, the CD or whatever is in the car. Put but he don't want to go back down and come back up 10 flights. I don't think Irv's ever heard the original I'm Real record.
Tommy knew fucking with my artistic choices was particularly low, but I wouldn't let him stop me. I switched gears and turned from the techno influence to a funkier sample from Candy by Cameo. You can't go wrong with Cameo. And after all that shit, Loverboy ended up being the best-selling single of 2001 in the United States. I'm Real.
2001 was arguably the most difficult year of Mariah Carey's life. Her ex-husband was actively sabotaging her. Her 3-year-long relationship with Luis Miguel had just ended, and she was being massively overworked. This would all come to a head during the promotion for Glitter, when Mariah Carey was described as erratic in her interviews.
I do think there was a lot of pressure on her and a lot of high expectations.
And when you have such enormous success at such an early age, you get burnt out.
In 2001, Carey appeared on the cable show TRL to promote her upcoming film, Glitter. In front of a live audience, the singer's behavior took a turn for the bizarre.
Mariah came out into the audience and said that it was a day that she just wanted to hang out and look at the rainbows, and then all of a sudden she started stripping in the middle of TRL.
Even host Carson Daly appeared dumbfounded by Mariah's actions.
As Mariah was sort of doing her striptease, Carson Daly was like, okay, what are you doing here? He didn't know what was going on.
The truth was, Mariah Carey was running on no sleep, doing back-to-back interviews. She described what she was going through as an emotional crisis. So she went home to stay with her mom for a bit, but that made matters even worse. After finally getting some rest, Mariah said her mom told her something to the effect of, "Get back to work." When Mariah snapped back, her mom called the police, all to have her hospitalized, making Mariah's, quote, nervous breakdown global news.
Carey posted 2 voice messages on her website earlier this week,
saying that she needed a break from music. She went on to say, quote, "I just can't trust anybody anymore because I don't understand what's going on." 24 hours after posting the statement, the diva checked into a treatment facility for physical and emotional exhaustion.
The entire Glitter era would flop for multiple reasons. One of the main reasons being that the album was released on September 11th, 2001. However, Mariah largely attributed the failure to Tommy Mottola using J-Lo against her. So naturally, when promoting her album, she would get very upset anytime she was asked about Jennifer Lopez.
Mariah lashes out at Jennifer in October's Talk magazine on stands tomorrow. When interviewer Vanessa Gregoriadis, who originally spoke with Mariah for Allure, told Carey she'd recently interviewed Lopez, Carey said, quote, "I bet it was really intellectually stimulating. I bet you could just see the depth in her eyes. She was so soulful."
You know, she just really didn't like hearing Jennifer Lopez's name. It wasn't somebody she wanted to talk about.
Mariah, who calls herself Supergirl, says she often sleeps just 3 hours a night. When told Lopez claimed to get 8, Mariah said, quote, "If I had the luxury of not actually having to sing my own songs, I'd do that too." Mariah also aims her anger at ex-husband Tommy Mottola, head of Sony Music, for which Lopez records. She alleges that Lopez is so under his wing that he even groomed her to look like his ex-wife.
Now, fast forward to 2002. Both Mariah and J-Lo had albums set to release. J-Lo's was coming out just 5 days after Mariah's, which only added fuel to the feud's flame.
Does all the attention Jennifer Lopez gets, does that bother? Is there rivalries, by the way, in this business?
There are rivalries, but I don't think she has anything to do with me. I mean, my whole thing is singing, writing songs.
She's an actress.
Yeah, and I've been doing this, my whole life. Singing is first and foremost. It's a God-given talent that I'm grateful for. Her thing is something different.
Now, in February of 2003, Mariah was being interviewed by Blunder magazine. Apparently, Irv Gotti had admitted that the track sampled for the J-Lo song was originally for Mariah. When asked about it, Mariah said, quote, "He could have admitted that a year earlier and saved me a lot of grief." Now, in regards to Jennifer Lopez, she said, quote, "I'm trying not to feel competitive and to let that take over me, even if I feel like what someone's doing isn't especially noteworthy." Directly after the sabotage was confirmed to Mariah, she was yet again asked about J-Lo by the German TV program TAF, and her response went down in the pop culture history books as one of the shadiest and most iconic shutdowns of all time.
Und was ist mit J-Lo?
I don't know.
Die kenne ich nicht. Ups.
However, Mariah has maintained that she was just following the golden rule and that her response was just trying to say something nice or nothing at all, and that she actually truly does not know Jennifer Lopez personally. Jennifer, on the other hand, actually remained quite quiet for many years to come, which had the general public questioning if she was just a pawn in Tommy Mottola's game of chess against Mariah Carey. Or did Jennifer actually have a bigger role in trying to sabotage Mariah's career? We'll never know, but for years to come, it would be absolute radio silence on both of their ends.
Years later in 2005, Mariah was getting ready to release her comeback album, titled The Emancipation of Mimi, only to find out that Jennifer Lopez was also releasing her album titled Rebirth around the same time. During the press tour for Mariah's new album, interviewers again seemed to be obsessed with asking her about J-Lo, which led to another round of shady comments and even fans getting involved in the feud.
It's just regular crazy. There's the picture, the autograph pen, the plea for Mariah to come.
Sign this for me, please. Come to this, wherever we're at.
I'm sure she's on her way. And now we're on to J-Lo.
J-Lo all the way, baby!
Actually, not yet. Look who's back. She's focused, she's enthusiastic, she's fanatical.
What do you think of the new generation of singers, such as Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, R&B singers? What do you think of them, and do they have influence on your music?
Do they have influence on my music?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Well, it's hard. You can't really put those two people in the same category because one isn't really a different generation. They're just started singing later. But when you talk about Beyonce, I think she's wonderful. She's great.
You ever do a duet with J-Lo?
A duet?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how that would sound.
No, I mean, I don't know what type of a song it would be. Oh my God! No, I don't know what type of song.
It would sound a mess. Would you, Mariah Carey, diva that you are, would you even put forth the effort to walk into a studio to record a song with J-Lo?
Look, you never know what could happen in this life. You never know what could happen in this life.
Stop it.
Marvette, what are you doing?
Listen to me. You and I
over there.
You and I are doing very well right now. Let's stay on the page.
We are doing well. But
would you do a duet?
Yes.
With J-Lo? Yes or no?
Would you?
No.
Jennifer Lopez would continue to stay completely silent, never addressing Mariah's comments publicly, and for many, many years after, their careers no longer seemed to cross paths, as their albums were no longer being released within days of one another, which might have something to do with Jennifer Lopez leaving the Sony record label. However, 7 years later in 2012, Jennifer and Mariah would cross paths. J-Lo had been a judge on American Idol when she decided to leave to focus on her career. American Idol's ratings had plummeted down 29%, so they needed a superstar to replace her.
Mariah Carey made her official announcement this week that she would be joining American Idol as a judge, right on the heels of Jennifer Lopez's announcement that she was leaving the Hitbox show. So, what does J-Lo think of Mariah taking a seat at her old gig?
I think, yeah, why not? I mean, she's a musician for a long time. She has a lot of experience, and it's an experience that you offer them.
Here's what it was. I was led to believe. I was the first person signed on. I was, I don't want to say anything that's gonna, heaven forbid, people, look like I'm saying something negative. But honestly, I thought it was gonna be a 3-person panel. They gave me a nice dangling monetary moment, and I was just like, okay, this is for me. Randy Jackson will be there. I've known him forever. He used to play bass for me. Like, this isn't a big deal. This will be nothing. But it wasn't that. It was like hell, going to work every day in hell with Satan.
Really?
Mariah was paid a whopping $18 million to join Idol, making her the highest paid judge on any singing competition show. Season 12 would kick off with a very interesting start, as right away it was pretty evident that there was a feud brewing between Mariah Carey and Nicki Minaj, who was also a judge. And we could do a whole video about that. Anyways, Mariah's presence did not seem to help boost the ratings, and there was talks of bringing J-Lo back to replace Mariah. Nicki Minaj even tweeted out, quote, "All them number ones, but J-Lo's phone's ringing."
You guys, none of us saw this coming, not even me, and I know that you didn't. American Idol is getting ugly, but in a good way for us, very entertaining. Wait, hold on. The Hollywood Reporter is reporting that the Idol producers are allegedly hatching a secret plan to jumpstart the declining ratings by replacing Mariah Carey with Jennifer Lopez. Right? Right? I never saw this coming, but that is so perfect. Because, okay, allegedly the plan to replace Mariah mid-season was dumped after Mariah apparently threatened legal action. The Idol producers are now denying the rumor, saying that this probably got started because, you know, we are in talks with Jennifer to perform on the season finale.
On the season 12 finale, American Idol brought J-Lo on to do a 10-minute long performance. And this would seemingly wipe the dust off the feud, as article after article started coming out that Mariah Carey struggled to clap and give a standing ovation for J-Lo. Mariah's rep did respond to this, saying that she was delayed in standing due to a heavily beaded Tom Ford dress that restricted her movement. Jennifer Lopez would end up replacing Mariah the following season, and while doing interviews, she finally addressed the feud for the first time in 15 years.
What is your relationship with Mariah Carey? I always have heard that there's a feud there.
Yes, I don't have a feud against her at all.
It would seem as if Andy Cohen would help keep this feud alive for the next several years, because every time he had J-Lo or Mariah on the show, he would get them to answer questions about one another.
If you were in Las Vegas for one night and could only see one show, would you rather see Mariah or Britney perform?
Britney, because she dances.
You said there was no feud whatsoever between you and Mariah Carey, but I gotta ask you.
Isn't.
Before your Vegas show premiered,
yes,
you saw Britney's show, you saw Shania, you saw Celine, you saw Cirque du Soleil, no Mariah.
I'll tell you
and
why.
During the Billboard Music Awards, you were caught texting during Mariah's performance.
That's it.
Describe your relationship with Mariah.
Okay, first of all, that was not fair then with the texting thing, because I watched a lot of it. It was a long performance.
Okay.
I watched most of it. I may have looked down for 1 second. And people were like, look at her, look at her.
They were waiting.
So not fair. Not fair. I was watching her the whole time.
First, people love the debate over whether or not Mariah Carey knows Jennifer Lopez so much that there's even an I don't know her t-shirt. I saw at your concert the other night.
They make their own merchandise.
I know, they bring their own merch. Do you know J-Lo at this point?
No. The audience member said it.
I didn't see Mariah because at the time she wasn't playing. She hadn't started yet.
Who?
But I saw Britney, I saw Shania.
No, I'm playing because that's what Mariah said about Jennifer one time. I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just...
she does say that.
Yeah, she does.
She's forgetful, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know. We've met many times. I don't know her that well.
Here's the thing. So I go back to my seat, and J-Lo's sitting behind me. And I'm like, you know what? There was this whole thing. When you were last on, there was the moment where you said, I don't know her. And then she said, I know her.
Ago, I can't believe people still make such a big deal out of it.
But do you know each other?
No. Okay,
she says you know her.
Okay, I know she, you know what? I'm very forgetful.
Okay.
Apparently, I'm forgetful.
Yes.
Because I don't remember the fact that it was just like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and then move on. And then like, hi, that's it.
Right.
If I had never had a conversation with you and someone asked me about you, I'd be like, I don't know him, but he seems cool.
Right.
Or, I don't know him.
Does she seem cool?
I don't know her.
Right.
Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, I'm not gonna put on a thing like, oh, we're all Hollywood and let's just all pretend we're best friends because like we're in that land. Like,
right.
It's no offense to anybody. It's just that like the question was about Beyonce. And
right.
I was saying, I think she's super talented. She's a friend of mine. She's always been sweet to me. She's always been very cool. Yeah. And then they asked me another question, and I was just like, I don't really know her. Like, I don't know how I said it, but I was just like, I don't know her.
In present day, Mariah and J-Lo do not talk about one another very often. When Mariah released her 2020 memoir detailing the sabotage of her career in the early 2000s, Jennifer said that she wouldn't be reading it. And in 2024, in regards to J-Lo's canceled tour, a source said Mariah is happy the public is finally seeing how overrated and phony Jennifer Lopez is. Needless to say, the feud between Jennifer Lopez and Mariah Carey is more layered than we could have ever imagined. They weren't just work colleagues or even just competing pop stars. Jennifer Lopez was purposefully put in the industry by Mariah's vindictive ex-husband to slight her. While both parties seem to have cooled down, the feud is showing no signs of stopping. Mariah Carey's story is that of a grandiose pop star with an immense talent, a singer who has captured multiple generations with her beautiful voice. She really had to fight against all odds to stay in the spotlight. All Mariah ever wanted was to be a successful singer and to achieve her dream. And to do so, she had to live through one of the darkest Hollywood stories we've ever told. Escaping Tommy Mottola not only speaks to Mariah's spirit, but also her true love for her art form. Not only is she still shining bright today, but those 4 little words, "I don't know her," will forever be a massive pop culture moment.
What do you think about people still referencing "I don't know her" all these years later?
I still don't know her.